What's going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video. And please wait. Before you do anything, you're new here. Maybe you're not new. Maybe this is your first time on the channel. Maybe it's not. That's redundant, but it is true. Inevitably, with a ranking video, with one of these list type videos, I'm going to get a number of questions. A lot of the comment section is going to be just this player, question mark. If they're not in the top 100, I don't think they're a top 100 player, at least for me. And there will also be inevitably players on this list that you don't see that are on here that I talk about, and you're going to ask about them. They're on here. But if they're not on here, I don't think they're top 100 players. You don't have to ask. Some players that are not in my top 100 that we have to get out of the way, that are either fringe top 100 guys or guys that are getting really hyped up, really popular for some reason. We'll talk about them, get a few out of the way. Antonio Gandy Golden out of Liberty. He's a fringe top 100 guy for me. Didn't make the cut. Did a lot of his work as a deep threat, but doesn't really have that elite deep speed. Played in a really bad conference, and that's why he was able to get over the top on a lot of these guys, because he's playing against, non-incredible athletes that you're going to see in the NFL. So he did a lot of his damage as a deep threat, and even though I really like him as a player, just you can't fit everybody in the top 100. This was really tough to compile this rankings together because they're guys I wanted to fit in that I just couldn't. Another one of those guys that is getting really hyped up is Chase Claypool, wide receiver out of Notre Dame. He had a really amazing combine and he went to a really popular school, but this is someone that does not create separation at an even okay level. He really struggles to do that. And for someone that is going to be a great blocker at the next level, has some great size, can be one of those big slots, maybe a team wants to try and get him to play tight end, whatever it may be. I think he's maybe a fringe top 100 guy, but you got to be able to create separation at the receiver position. That's the most important thing you can do, and he just doesn't do that for me on a consistent basis at all. So I don't see the hype for him as a top 100 guy. I think he could maybe develop into something, but it's tough to really improve your route running so greatly if you don't already have those quick and good feet. He doesn't really play to his 40 time. So no Chase Claypool. There are a number of other guys that I wanted to get in here that I really couldn't. There's so many great receivers, just couldn't get everybody in here. But starting off at number 100, I'm going to try to be pretty concise and quick on a lot of these guys just because I don't want this video to be super long, but I would also like to provide a decent level of insight that I can on some of these guys. Watch film on probably about 200 players overall, and that's how we came up with this ranking. I wanted to get to more, but I just couldn't really find the time this year. You got to watch about probably 5 to 7 games of each player, and it gets a little bit tough with the timing thing. But Jalen Hurts is at number 100. There's some guys that think he should be way higher, because I leaked this on Twitter a little bit, twitter.com/BengalDesigns. Make sure to follow me over there. We're talking a lot of draft over there all the time. But Jalen Hurts, to me, he's not even close to a first-round talent. He should make the top 100, because basically the value that I see with him is this is a either career backup. It's really tough for me to put him any higher, or he's like a Dak Prescott level player. He's not someone that, you're in the fourth quarter down by 2 touchdowns, 10 minutes to go, that you're like, okay, I want Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott as my quarterback. They're not really going to win you games that way. They need other players around them, develop a running game the way they did in Dallas. But Jalen Hurts, he has that Dak Prescott level ceiling for me. I think he's got a pretty high floor, but just not a tremendous player. And he's going to be at number 100 for me. Alex Highsmith, edge out of Charlotte. I like Highsmith quite a bit. Another beast out of Charlotte, along with Larry Ogunjobi, could have that going for him. But I really liked him. He was fringe top 100, and I had to sneak him in here because I do like him as a player. Eno Benjamin out of Arizona State. There are not a ton of running backs on this list. Eno Benjamin's a solid player, and definitely had to sneak him on. Khalid Kareem out of Notre Dame. I like him as well. He was close to Alex Highsmith in terms of ability for me. It's also a name that I'm struggling to say for some reason. But Kareem, fringe top 100 guy. He ended up sneaking in. I would say, he could end up being a second-round pick. Probably not. Probably going to be more in that 3rd to 4th range. But I definitely like Khalid Kareem when I'm watching him. Terrell Burgess out of Utah. Another guy with some positional versatility here. You see a lot of those with the safeties. Could play a little bit of nickel cornerback, come up in big dime or come up in the box a little bit. Terrell Burgess is definitely a solid player. Also, shout out to thedraftnetwork.com. That's where I've assembled my big board on. At number 95, we have Amik Robertson out of Louisiana Tech. This is someone that absolutely had to make the list for me. The only real trouble with him is size, but his ability is very, very good. This is your prototypical nickel corner in the next level. Amik Robertson, feisty, great ball skills. Really, really liked what he brought to the table when watching him, and he was even a problem for Texas at the beginning of the year. I think it was our opening game. But Amik Robertson, definitely a very, very solid player, and really the only knock on him is size. He's about 5'8", 5'9", so he sneaks on, but I liked him a lot. Bradley Anae out of Utah. This is a player that you're just kind of worried about his athleticism because he doesn't really play so fast, but he's very technically sound. I like Bradley Anae quite a bit. Another guy I had to get on here just because I think this is a really, really good player for the third or fourth round where he doesn't have that high ceiling with athleticism, but his technical ability, his hand placement, the strength of those hands, so solid. Really, really good player. I like him a lot. I like this draft class a lot. This is a really talented class because if Anae's coming in at 94, and I really, really like him, there's some really good players. One of my favorite kind of later round corners coming in here is Darnay Holmes. He's someone who plays so fluidly. I like him quite a bit. Another thing with him is just kind of that athleticism that you maybe wonder about a little bit. But Darnay Holmes, I really, really like. He's coming in at 93. I like a ton of these guys, so I'm going to be repeating myself a lot with that. 92 is Jake Fromm out of Georgia. I think he's definitely better than Jalen Hurts, but Fromm for me is another one of these kind of low ceilings guy. Doesn't really have the incredible arm talent that you'd look for in terms of accuracy and especially not strength. His projection in terms of what he could end up being is maybe like an Andy Dalton type player, where I feel like a lot of guys would take Andy Dalton. Smart kid, reads defenses pretty well, but just doesn't have that arm talent, and that's just not something you can coach up. Number 91 is Akeem Davis-Gaither out of App State. This is someone with safety flexibility, has kind of transitioned into a linebacker, a little bit light for the position, 6'2", 219 pounds. So maybe this is someone that is kind of that money backer role, like we saw with Deon Buchanan coming out of Washington State. But Akeem Davis-Gaither, he's certainly a solid player. Just positional flexibility and what he ends up doing is going to be the biggest question with him. So number 90 is Matt Hennessy, mainly plays center, and that's his projection, or plays center. Did so at Temple. A lot of good centers in this class. So you're going to see a few on this list later, and certainly guys with some guard flexibility who played center as well. But Hennessy is certainly very, very solid. At number 89 is Devon Hamilton. He was a weird player for me. Only started 1 year at Ohio State. He's a nose tackle. It's like, how much do you value a nose tackle? I think he's certainly a good player. Just, it's going to be interesting to see when he ends up going, because he could be someone that goes a lot higher just based on these teams picking and how they value the nose. Like a team like the Giants, who seems to love nose tackles, with Dave Gettleman valuing those guys up on the defensive and offensive lines a ton. Nose tackle is a valuable position. It's just, how soon would you take one? That's going to be the question with Devon Hamilton. And remember, this is not a mock draft. This is purely rankings. We get those questions all the time. Oh, Jake Fromm's going to go in the first round. You have him at 92. Like, it's a ranking for me. It isn't a mock draft. Number 88 is Van Jefferson. A lot of questions about him. I get asked frequently. He's a good route runner. I think he's a good playmaker with the ball in his hands. He just really does not benefit from this being a stacked receiver class. He's a solid player. Doesn't really do anything exceptionally well, but good route runner. I think that's an extremely valuable trait to have. People say I overvalue route running all the time, which maybe that is true, but I do value that paramount among abilities of receivers, because if you can get open, it's way easier to make those catches when they're not contested whatsoever. So route running, I value paramount. At number 87, I have Gabriel Davis, a completely different style of receiver to Van Jefferson. He's more of a red zone threat, more of a jump ball guy, not as polished of a route runner, but certainly has more value for a team in the red zone. It just kind of depends how you value those different things. At number 86, I have Robert Hunt. He's more of a guard, played at Louisiana, Lafayette, the Ragin' Cajuns. But Robert Hunt, another good player, another strong player, good hands. When you look for these offensive linemen, a lot of it is technique based. It's not only what they do with their feet and how they angle, it's the legs, positioning and how quickly they get your hands on you, where they position those hands, the strength in the hands, the punch power is what we talk about consistently with offensive linemen, more so with tackles than guards. For guards, you really look for that the athleticism to pull and the power to finish through plays. Robert Hunt certainly has that. He's a good player. At 85, we have Prince Tega Winogo out of Auburn. Another solid tackle here. He could be higher up this list. I just don't think that he's as good as the other tackles that I have significantly higher as you're going to find. Actually, he was a prince in Africa before moving here. I forget the exact country in Africa, but Tega Winogo, not a bad player at all. At number 84, I have Donovan Peoples-Jones. This was a weird one for me. I think a lot of people are going to be upset I have him so low, but this is just a freak athlete and not so much an incredible wide receiver at this point. Hands are not polished, has some concentration drops, but he certainly has an incredible athletic profile to build with and build around. We'll have to see how he develops as a receiver, but that's why I have him so low. Number 83, another Michigan player, that's Josh Uche. I think this guy can stand up as well as come off the edge. He has some, again, positional flexibility, has some versatility, depends on what team wants to take him. I think this is a typical 3-4 outside linebacker. You're going to want to play him in a 3-4 and have him play off the ball occasionally and also rushing the passer. Good athlete, good player. Number 82, I have Bryce Haw, someone that was super hyped up prior to the season. Just didn't really show it as much this past season at Virginia. He's a good player, but it was tough for me to put him any higher than this. Number 81 is Jonah Jackson. This is someone who I think will definitely be a guard at the next level. Jonah Jackson, one of these great athletes for one of these bigger guys. As you can see here, he is 6'4", 310 pounds. It's going to be interesting to see where these interior offensive linemen end up going, because currently they're not a ton projected to go first round, but if they start flying off the board, you can see the guys like Jonah Jackson being taken in the second round very easily. Number 80 is Jordan Elliott. There are some really underrated interior defensive linemen in this class. Jordan Elliott is one of them. Certainly had to put him in my top 80. Number 79 is Rashard Lawrence. Liked him a little bit better than Jordan Elliott. I think he penetrates at a higher level, and even if, well, don't take that out of context, but even if you value run stopping more, I think Rashard Lawrence definitely does that. I don't think he does anything exceptionally well, but is kind of that guy that will do everything pretty well for you. Number 78 is Austin Jackson, another guy that's getting a lot of hype. I've talked with him with Andre a lot, Moonlight Swami. Austin Jackson is just a raw player, really not good technically at this moment in time, but he's got a great athletic profile again. So if a good offensive line coach can come in and coach him up, I think Austin Jackson could definitely turn into a really good player. But this is not someone that should go in the first round at all, and it's just a little raw for me right now. If not for his athletic profile and his traits, I would probably have him a little bit lower on this list even, but you got to value that athleticism because it's impossible to teach it to some degree. Number 77 is Netani Muti out of Fresno State. Really, really good player when you watch him on tape. This is someone who's super strong, loves to finish, reminds me of a Mike Iapati in a lot of ways. Here's the problem, is he cannot stay healthy, and that is a super, super, super big issue on the offensive line. I would have him probably about 30 spots higher, honestly, if he could stay on the field. But playing every snap and staying on the field and staying healthy is a huge part of being a productive offensive lineman and being a valuable offensive lineman, and Muti just gets injured a lot, and that is a huge issue. Number 76 is Jacob Eason out of Washington. Of course, former Georgia QB that lost the job to Jake Fromm and ended up transferring. Huge arm, rocket arm. I mean, reminds you of Josh Allen in terms of that arm talent. Maybe not quite as good, but really, really strong arm. Has prototypical size. Just, he didn't flash as much as a guy like Justin Herbert on tape, and he's much lower for me. I wanted Jacob Eason to develop a lot more than he showcased this past couple seasons at Washington, these past couple seasons, and he just didn't. So he's a little bit lower on this list for that reason. Number 75 is Bryan Edwards, another big body, jump ball, red zone threat. I like him quite a bit, but I think he offers even more than that. Solid route runner for his size. He's a very big boy, 6'3", 215 pounds. But can go up and get it. Good hands, great catch radius, like that quite a bit. Number 74 is Ezra Cleveland. The way I kind of ranked him was just, I like him almost significantly more than Austin Jackson. And, Austin Jackson is not too far behind him, but Ezra Cleveland, certainly someone that rose up draft boards a lot over the past year. And he was someone that was interesting to watch. I like his size profile, 6'6", 310, kind of prototypical tackle size. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes. He could end up getting first-round hype. Willie Gay out of Mississippi State, another really fun player. This guy is super, super fast, has that sideline-to-sideline range, has some track speed, covers fairly well. Willie Gay, not a bad player for the Bulldogs these past couple seasons. I keep saying this because I want to say season, and I just pluralize it. Number 72 is Terrell Lewis out of Alabama, someone that was super disappointing for me in general. Again, this is a guy that with prototypical edge size, 6'5", 260, great athlete. A lot of great players around him at Alabama, and he wasn't someone that, particularly shined the brightest. But Terrell Lewis has still a lot of potential. He's a way better athlete than a guy like Tim Hightower, who came as an edge out of Alabama, drafted by the Ravens a few years back. I like Terrell Lewis. He's just got to continue to develop technically, because technicality and technique, I should say, is the most important thing that I look for in the NFL. All these guys are already great athletes. So Terrell Lewis, turn that athleticism into a little bit more technique. Tyler Biadasz at number 71. This is someone who was one of the consensus top-ranked interior offensive linemen going into the season, and then just, I think, continue to play at a similar level. He's going to stay at number 71 for me. I like him a lot. Someone that can play guard, someone that can play center. Biadasz definitely has a lot of value. At number 70, I have Michael Pittman Jr. He's a good player. He's got great hands. He's kind of like one of these possession-style guys. Reminds me a little bit of Michael Thomas coming out of Ohio State, where these guys aren't exactly explosive off the line, and they don't create separation at an elite level, but they're so good in traffic. They have such great hands. I think Michael Pittman's definitely going to be a chain mover for a team at the next level. Number 69 is Damon Arnett. Thought he was going to run a lot faster at the combine. Did that drop him for me a lot? Not really. I don't really value the combine a ton. It's just interesting to see, what these guys are going to test from an athletic profile base. But Arnett is certainly a good player. I think he profiles more as a slot guy. So how great do you value a slot corner? Number 69 is a nice spot for him. Number 68 is Devon Duvernay. I am a big Texas Longhorn fan, but I don't think this is too high for him at all. He was incredible for the Longhorns last year. I've seen every single game of his college career, and he was a really, really great player this last year. Fantastic hands, but really the best thing about Devon Duvernay is his ability after the catch. Reminds me a lot of Deebo Samuel. I think for a team looking for their next Deebo Samuel, it is Devon Duvernay. I think Duvernay is going to go a lot higher than a lot of people expect. Everyone's looking for this next Deebo Samuel, a guy that can do it all for you. Devon Duvernay can come out of the backfield as a running back. I think he can be an electric slot receiver, but also someone, as you saw with Deebo Samuel, that can play on the outside and do so at a high level. Devon Duvernay is a really, really talented player. Number 67 is Kayvon Wallace. I like Kayvon Wallace a lot. Can come up in the box, can play nickel corner. Of course, he's listed as a safety here. I think this is a more typical strong side guy. I like Kayvon Wallace. Another guy that I had to go back and watch, and I was impressed by what I saw. Number 66 is Cam Akers. Really, really good running back. Cam Akers is not getting a ton of hype right now, but this is someone that is really, really quick, even if he isn't incredibly fast. Plays really, really quick. Reminds me of Shady, LaShawn McCoy in a lot of aspects of his game. So I do like Cam Akers. Number 65, another running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU. Here's the thing. I had him just above Cam Akers. He's a good player. He's, kind of reminiscent of a Maurice Jones-Drew in a lot of aspects, of a Doug Martin. He's a small guy. He's super compact, tough to bring down. He's not going to blow you away with his speed. Doesn't have that breakaway speed, but with a maybe Kareem Hunt type profile as well coming out of Toledo. This is someone that's just going to pick up yardage for you. He's not going to really have a ton of 2 or 3 yard gains, but he'll be 4 and 5 consistently, even if he's not going to break any off for like 15 or 20 on a regular basis. Number 65 or 64 is Noah Igbenogany out of Auburn. He's someone who plays really, really good man coverage. And he's fast as well. He's a good athlete. Just doesn't really have ball skills. Doesn't find the football, and I think that's going to be penalized a lot in the NFL if he doesn't clean up a lot of his game. He's got to learn to turn around and find the football. He just doesn't do that at an elite level, but blankets receivers, I like that a lot. Number 63 is Brycen Hopkins. This is your prototypical tight end size. I don't think he's quite as good as some of the other tight ends, but as you're going to see, they're not too far in front of him. Brycen Hopkins, he's like 6'5", 6'4", 240, about 6'5". Runs routes really, really well, has good hands, blocks fairly well. He's someone that does everything pretty well, and Bryce Hopkins certainly going to help out a team. Brycen Hopkins is. Number 62 is Matthew Pert out of UConn. I like him a lot. I feel like he's definitely better than Austin Jackson. I feel like he's definitely better than Prince Tega, definitely better than Ezra Cleveland, and he's just not getting talked about the same way. He has really, really long arms, and he gets them on you early. You know, edge rushers really, really struggle to beat him. And one of the best traits you can have as a tackle is not getting beat off the edge. So Matthew Pert, someone I like quite a bit. Number 61 is Raekwon Davis, someone that, was super, super hyped up coming out of Alabama. And he decided to go back for his senior year and kind of just didn't really flash the way he did early on in his starting career at Alabama. Have to see what he does in the NFL. He might need some talent around him to be an effective player. That's my only real knock on him. Number 60 is Malik Harrison. I think this is kind of the perfect range for him. He's one of my favorite linebackers in the class. This is not exactly a stacked linebacker group. A lot of these guys have good potential to come in, but you don't really see a ton that could really play a huge impact on the inside at that ILB spot as a Mike linebacker. But Malik Harrison, I think, could. Willie Gay is more of a will. Antonio or Akeem Davis-Gaither is more of a will if he's even a linebacker. Troy Dye didn't make my cut. He's someone that can play on the inside, but I don't think he's quite as good as any of the other guys. Malik Harrison at number 60. I think he can play on the inside. I think he can be good. Number 59 is Julian Okwara out of Notre Dame. Another guy flying off the edge that I liked at Notre Dame. Flash more than Khalid Kareem. I just think he's a little bit of a better player, at least right now. This is someone I think could end up going in the first round. Number 58 is Ashton Davis. He's kind of like your prototypical, strong side safety. I like Ashton Davis. I think he can play over the top a little bit. It's just not where he's best, in my opinion. I think he's someone that's going to play a little bit better in the box. But I don't really value that a ton as I do to play center field over the top. So Ashton Davis is a little bit lower for me than some other guys. Number 57 is the big O, Albert Okwuegbunam. Ran really, really fast at the combine. Just doesn't play quite that fast on tape, but he's got great hands. I think he's a fantastic red zone threat. And he's someone that can actually develop as a blocker. Was certainly not terrible as a blocker last year. But I think this is one of your weapons you can use in the passing game. And he's just gotta up his play speed. That's really what it comes down to. Number 56 is Trayvon Diggs. Another guy that isn't an insane athlete, but he does have prototypical size that a lot of teams look for at cornerback. He's a taller corner, so he would fit well with a team like the Seahawks. This is exactly what they like. Trayvon Diggs is 6'2", 207 pounds, plays very, very physically, and he makes up for his kind of non-amazing athleticism. Number 55 is Jeremy Chin, someone that I like quite a bit at Southern Illinois. I looked into him a lot. The only reason he ended up going to Southern Illinois was due to some recruiting issues. So he's a much better player than going to this kind of random school, would seem like. He's someone that can play linebacker. I think this is an in-the-box safety, kind of nickel corner role at some times. He's a chess piece that a team can move around. Really, really good athlete. Offers a lot of value. Number 54 is KJ Hamler. A lot of guys like KJ Hamler. I think he's kind of like a home run or bust type guy. Good deep threat. I don't think he's an incredible route runner, but he's someone that can certainly take the top off the defense, and that's a valuable trait to have. Number 53 is AJ Terrell out of Clemson. Another guy that I like. He just kind of got exposed down the stretch, especially in the college football playoff. But that just goes to show you, against elite competition, Terrell just didn't quite show up enough. Was good in the regular season, but just kind of had too many issues where I think his flaws were exposed on a huge stage, and maybe that's some bias that I have him down there because I remember those so well. So when you're watching tape on a guy, it's tough to not remember those, but you got to put that bias to the side and kind of evaluate what you're seeing. But I think, again, he was just a little bit too raw and a little bit too exposed down the stretch. Number 52 is Kyle Duggar out of Lenoir-Rhyne. Probably the only player you're ever going to see out of Lenoir-Rhyne. He was someone that made a huge impact on special teams for them, returning kicks and punts. He's a really, really good athlete as well. Flashes as a safety, can play over the top, but has its size to come up and play in the box as well. Kyle Duggar, I think, is going to play a huge role for a team at the next level because he has that versatility to play free safety, strong safety, move up into the box. Going to be interesting for him. Number 51 is Curtis Weaver, an edge out of Boise State. One of my favorite edge rushers in this class. I think it goes Chase Young, number 1, and then it goes Kayvon Chason, big drop to number 2, and then I think it's a big drop to those next couple edge guys, and next edge guys are kind of all around the same level for me. Curtis Weaver is a good player. He comes in at 51 as we enter the top 50. Number 50 is Lloyd Cushenberry. Played center on LSU for the past few seasons. Really, really good player. Didn't get beat often. Best center in the SEC. So he is going to make the list at number 50. Number 49, Lucas Niang out of TCU. Someone that I struggled with. I think he could be a little bit higher. 49 is just kind of where he ended up settling in. This is an offensive tackle that could go up, ending up in the first round. But I think 49 is a good spot for him in terms of my overall big board. I just like the guys above him better. Jonathan Grenard out of Florida. And apparently Louisville as well. I had to go back and watch him at Louisville. Grenard is a good player. Flashes off the edge. I mean, he's really, really quick. Plays fast. He's a blur at times. He just has a nose for the football, and that is a valuable trait to have. Number 47 is Justin Mattad out of Texas A&M. Really good penetrator. This guy can come up and pass rush with the best of the interior defensive linemen in this class. Mattad is certainly a solid player. Number 46 is Cole Kmet. I said some of these tight ends were all going to be around the same area. Kmet is a lot of the tight end 1 for a lot of guys, but I think he's a little bit better than Bryson Hopkins. Separates a little bit better. He's a good blocker, good hands. Cole Kmet is certainly a good player. Could be valuable in the red zone. Like him as a player. But number 45 is a tight end I like just a little bit better. I think the best run blocking tight end in this class, who also has solid hands. Adam Troutman out of Dayton. Smaller school, obviously, that goes without saying. But Troutman does everything really, really well. And I think he's underrated. I think he is the best tight end in this class. Number 44 is Neville Gallimore. Really, really good athlete at Oklahoma. Started a ton of games for them. He was a really, really solid player. Another guy that does everything pretty well, and that is a valuable trait to have. Number 43 is Isaiah Wilson. Another guy who I talked to Swami about kind of a lot. He kind of remarked that Isaiah Wilson reminds him of Marcus Cannon. I guess I could see that. I mean, he has really, really strong hands. Another guy who's just a little bit raw technique-wise, but his punching power is off the charts. If he can land it, you're not going to be able to do anything. So, effective in the run game, just a little bit raw technique-wise, doesn't have the best feet. But when you look at Isaiah Wilson, you see the upside. He is huge, he is gigantic, and a lot of times when edge rushers were flying at him, he just gets his arms on you so quickly and full extension, and just there's nowhere to go. You can't go around him because he's so huge, 6'7", 340. His size is incredible, and it's just impossible to get around him at times. But speed is something that if you get by him with speed, I mean, we'll have to see how he develops. Again, I think a good offensive line coach makes Isaiah Wilson a really, really intriguing player. Kind of like how Titus Howard ended up going in the first round due to his crazy athletic profile. Isaiah Wilson could be one of those guys as well. Number 42 is T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a good player. I don't think his hands are incredible. Good red zone receiver. He's got some good size, good catch radius. Just a little bit too inconsistent for me to have him in my top 32, if you want to call that, first round guys, even though it's not. I've got about 23, 25 first round guys in here. It's kind of interesting. I had a bunch of conversations with Swami about this. There are 18 guys that I think are true first round talents, and then there are guys from 19 to about 33 or 30 that I have questions about, where they're first round guys with questions. But T. Higgins just not going to make the cut for me. At number 41 is Jeff Gladney. Didn't realize how old he was. He's about 23 or 24 years old. I like Jeff Gladney. He's someone that dominated a lot of Big 12 receivers, including a guy like Colin Johnson, who's much bigger than him. Gladney is only 6 foot compared to Colin Johnson's about 6'6", and Gladney competed and won a lot of those battles. I like him a lot, just a little bit raw at times, and that's why he is not in the first round. Number 40 is Denzel Mims out of Baylor, someone with great size, crazy catch radius, and developed a little bit as a route runner this past season at Baylor. So Denzel Mims is someone who could get some first round hype. I don't quite have him as a first round player, but certainly very talented. Number 39 is Jalen Johnson, probably the 4th best corner in this class. I think that's where I have him. He's a talented player, maybe the 5th best. Really, really good in zone coverage. Solid in man. I mean, he's someone that, again, does everything pretty well. And number 39, I think, is a good spot for him. Number 38 is someone who is really, really fun to watch, and that is Antoine Winfield Jr., another guy with some incredible versatility. See him listed as a safety here, but I think he can play nickel corner. I think he can play free safety. I think he can play strong safety. Somebody that flies around the field, makes plays all the time. Was really fun to watch for the Golden Gophers this past year. Antoine Winfield, really, really good player. Number 37 is Ross Blacklock. I don't know, man. I mean, at times, he creates some crazy penetration. Another good pass rusher. Holds up blocks well, defends the run well. Just a little bit inconsistent, and you see him get beat sometimes. And for a guy to be a first-round guy for me, they have to dominate. And Blacklock was a really good player, just didn't dominate the way you'd like to see. Number 36 is Zach Bowen, another guy I think has some positional flexibility. I don't think he's just a true edge. I think this is a 3-4 outside linebacker that can stand up and be effective in that role as well. He's kind of a typical Sam in that way, Sam linebacker. Zach Bowen's good. Have to see what he can do. Number 35 is Josh Jones, another guy who's not crazy athletic, doesn't really flash anything crazy on tape. Just the one thing about him is he just doesn't really get beat ever. And that is a really, really good trait to have for an offensive tackle. Also was the best tackle at the Senior Bowl. And that's always really telling. Guys that play really, really well at the Senior Bowl in the full week of practice are guys that usually are pretty good in the NFL. Look at Terry McLaurin last year. Dominated the Senior Bowl, was uncoverable, and then dominated the NFL as a rookie. So the Senior Bowl is quite telling. Josh Jones, very, very good there. Number 34 is Laviska Shenault out of Colorado. Someone with questions. I like Laviska Shenault a lot as a player. Someone who is incredibly versatile. A guy that can be used out of the backfield. Played a lot of Wildcat QB at Colorado. Really, really fun player, really good. Injury concerns are big with him. I like him a lot. He's got good hands. He's got pretty decent size. He's a good route runner. Really tough player to not include my top 32, if you want to call those first-round guys, even though they're not. But Laviska, really good player. Injuries bring him down. Number 33 is Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan. Center, guard, he can do it all. Probably best suited as a center at the next level, in my opinion. Really solid player, just misses out on the top 32. And at number 32, we have AJ Epineza out of Iowa. I think this is a 3-4 defensive end. I don't really view him as a true edge. I don't think he has the athleticism to come off the edge in a 4-3. I don't think he's a stand-up 3-4 outside linebacker. I think he's a 3-4 defensive end. I think he could maybe play like a hybrid J.J. Watt role where he can line up on the edge, but I think a team like the Titans takes him. He plays that Jarrell Casey style role as he's on the Broncos now. Epeneza's really, really good. Just I don't think he can play on the edge consistently. He's a power rusher. I think he's best suited for the inside, occasionally lining up on the edge. 3-4 defensive end. That's his role. Number 31 is Yetur Gross-Matos, someone that is not as good technically as AJ Epineza, but someone who's a much better athlete, flashed on tape. A lot of potential here. He's at number 31. Number 30 is kind of like my borderline for first-round talents. It's Christian Fulton. He's someone who's not great technically. Good press man corner, decent athlete, gets beat a little bit. That's the thing. I don't know. Fulton is a solid player. Just again, I think against good competition, Fulton disappeared at times and even appeared in negative ways when he got beat. So when I say disappeared, that's not so much what I mean. I just mean his ability disappeared and he started getting beat consistently, which you hate to see for a corner. Number 29, this is like the last of my first round talent type guys. Number 29 is Jonathan Taylor. Christian Fulton's on the edge. of that. Jonathan Taylor is a really, really good player. Questions about his hands. Doesn't really drop the football, but not really a great route runner. Not really utilized in the passing game so much. At Wisconsin, they just don't use running backs in that way. But this is a bell cow guy that you hand the ball off to 20, 25 times a game with ease. And great athlete. He's got track speed. Really, really exciting player. It's going to be interesting to see what team takes him. I don't think he's going to be a starting running back year one, but I think he's going to be someone that kind of splits carries. Number 28, Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State. Another guy with some injury concerns, but is a really, really good player. Great route runner, great hands, great receiver. Definitely a first-round guy for me. Number 27 is Marland Davidson out of Auburn. I love Marland Davidson. Big question for him as is athleticism and what position does he play. I think he's an interior defensive lineman. He was listed as an edge for forever, and he played edge at Auburn, but he's someone that only played on the edge because Derrick Brown was on the inside. Marland Davidson is a great player who is talented enough to come off the edge, but this is someone that needs to play on the inside, in my opinion, to be effective. He has the size. Does he have the strength? I know he's 6'3", almost 300 pounds. Does he have the strength to be a guy that can be effective and disruptive on the inside? I think so. Remains to be seen, but a ton of potential there with Marland Davidson. Number 26 is Grant Delpit. This is a weird one for me because he was not a top, 26 player last season. He was the third best player on LSU secondary. Christian Fulton was better, and of course Derek Stingley was better. I've mentioned this in all my mock drafts. Delpit is a really, really good player. His sophomore year, he was incredible. Last year as a junior, just not so much. I know he won the Thorpe Award for best DB in the nation. He should not have. He just shouldn't have won it. Delpit didn't wrap up consistently last year. Tackling is a concern. It looks like he was either playing through injury or taking the year off because he didn't want to affect his draft stock. I'm not sure that's the case. Maybe he just regressed at a heavy level, but if Delpit can actually tackle consistently, he's going to be a monster. That just is a huge question for him. Number 25 is J.K. Dobbins, someone I value more than Jonathan Taylor because he's a jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife, can do it all. He can run in between the tackles, is a weapon out of the backfield as a receiver. J.K. Dobbins, a lot of value there. I can't wait to see what team takes him and how they utilize him. Number 24 is Jalen Reagor out of TCU, probably the best pure deep threat in this class. I know Henry Ruggs is definitely the fastest. He's an amazing deep threat as well, but he can kind of do more than that. Jalen Reagor is a pure deep threat. It's either him or KJ Hamler. Who do you like more? And I like Reagor a whole lot more. He consistently wins down the field. Great hands, and he has great body control when going up to catch the football. Reagor is a player I like a lot. Number 23 is Kenneth Murray. Kind of classic example of athleticism doesn't translate to being a good cover linebacker. His coverage ability is not very good, but he works super well in between the tackles, sheds blocks, fills lanes, tackles really, really well, sideline to sideline range. Kenneth Murray, really, really good player, just not a great cover linebacker. And in today's NFL, you kind of need that. Number 22 is Justin Jefferson. And a classic possession receiver, can be effective in the red zone. Justin Jefferson is a stud. Route running is pretty good, not amazing. And he doesn't really showcase the speed regularly that he ran at the combine. He ran 4.49 or something like that, but doesn't really play quite that fast. Justin Jefferson, still a good player, number 22. Number 21 is Andrew Thomas, another guy that just doesn't really get beat ever. Really good pass blocker, effective in the run game, kind of does everything pretty well, and that's why he comes in at number 21. Number 20 is Justin Herbert out of Oregon. I like Herbert, just another guy that a little bit too inconsistent. Sometimes he looks like the best quarterback in the class. Other times looks like he's not even, a second or third rounder. So consistency is just something that I question with him, and that's why he comes in number 20. Speaking of consistency, number 19 is Jordan Love. Another guy that's inconsistent and raw, but when he plays well, when he flashes, he is, looking like the best quarterback in this class. He has Mahomes-type traits. When I watched him at Utah State, I said, that's Mahomes at Texas Tech. Now, Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech was a raw player, got with Andy Reid, developed into a monster. Can Jordan Love do the same thing? It's going to be really, really interesting to find out. I think a lot of teams are going to say this is Mahomes. We can get our next Patrick Mahomes, and he just might not work out. He just might, not clean up these things. He might still remain inconsistent, but working with a new head coach and offensive coordinator this past year in a new system, Jordan Love just wasn't great, didn't put up numbers, but when you watch him on tape, a lot of his interceptions are just not his fault. So you can't really look at the numbers. You got to look at the tape. And Jordan Love is someone that still looked good on tape. So got to have him at number 19. At number 18, I have Xavier McKinney. Another player I absolutely love. This is the fringe guaranteed first-round guys, in my opinion, or of guys I have first-round grades on for sure. Jordan Love to about, what did I say? About Jonathan Taylor. Christian Fulton's kind of like borderline. Have some questions for me. But 18, I have no real concerns with Xavier McKinney. This is just a really, really good player. Super instinctive. Fills lanes as a safety really well when he comes up in the box. Just kind of knows his responsibilities. His play strength is really, really good for his size. Can play over the top. Doesn't have elite speed, but that's not really what you need from him. He's a strong safety, in my opinion, that has a nose for the football, does everything really, really well. One of the best tacklers in this class at safety, if not the very best. Xavier McKinney is a stud. Love him. At number 17, I have Deandre Swift out of Georgia. Best running back in this class. Does everything really, really well. Super, super quick. And he ran well. He does have that breakaway type speed. Good hands. DeAndre Swift does everything at an elite level. He is a monster. Number 16, K'Lavon Chaisson out of LSU. Athletic freak. He's got that unbelievable athletic profile that we've talked about. Huge burst off the edge. Just, again, technically a little bit raw right now. His hands are powerful when he can get them on you. But this is a speed rusher more than a power guy. You just kind of got to realize what you're getting there. And he's not going to be, amazing in every scheme. I think 3-4 outside linebacker is his best bet. But this is someone you want rushing the passer all the time. He just doesn't have that elite, size that you look for to be an amazing speed to power conversion guy. But great athlete. Good pass rusher. I mean, K'Lavon Chaisson's solid. He does everything pretty well. Better pass rusher than a run stopper, but that's the only reason why he's not really near the top 10. Number 15 is Tristan Wirfs. Has some guard flexibility. Amazing athlete. Another guy that just looked great at Iowa. He's certainly one of these consensus top 4 offensive tackles. Talk about the top 4 all the time. It's Wirfs, Wills, Becton, Thomas. Wirfs for me comes in at number 3, and he's a really good player. And you're going to see he's not much further behind another tackle that we'll get to in a minute. Number 14 is Patrick Queen. Other than Isaiah Simmons, he's my best pure linebacker in the class. He's an inside linebacker. He is super instinctive and rangy. He's an athlete that covers really well. We talked about Kenneth Murray being a great athlete. Patrick Queen's a great athlete, and he covers well. Sideline to sideline range, good tackler. Patrick Queen, for me, is on that same level, if not better, than Devon White. Devon White, I had some huge concerns with. Didn't really shed blocks at a high level. Was not instinctive as a linebacker. Still learning the position. And he's someone that didn't really tackle all that well. I know he put up a ton of tackles, but a lot of those were just kind of holding up the player. He goes way too high consistently. I don't really have any of those concerns with Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen is just a stud. This is a really, really good player. Number 13 is Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. He's got some incredible size. He's a great athlete. He's a mauler in the run game that, just like a guy like Isaiah Wilson, who we talked about, struggles to get, beat as a pass blocker because he's so impossible to get around because of his size. Becton, really, really solid player. Probably the best run blocking offensive tackle in this class. Number 12 is CJ Henderson, someone that played injured last year. A lot of people dropped on him, but is technically very, very good. Amazing man cover corner. Off man, he's incredible. Does everything really, really well. Instinctive in zone coverage. CJ Henderson is like borderline CB1 in this class. Number 11 is Henry Ruggs III out of Alabama. He's a deep threat that runs routes at a very high level. Great hands. Kind of reminds me of Odell Beckham Jr. at LSU. I think they have similar traits. I think Henry Ruggs is a really, really good player, and you could be getting an Odell-type player with him, where he's incredibly effective on slants at the next level. Ruggs is a beast. Odell's a beast. That's kind of my comparison for Henry Ruggs. I know Ruggs ran 4.27, and Odell ran 4.43 or something in that range, but you can't really look at 40 time. You got to look at play speed. And Henry Ruggs plays extremely fast. Odell plays extremely fast. I think you're getting an Odell Beckham Jr. type receiver with Henry Ruggs. Number 10, CeeDee Lamb. Another guy that I like quite a bit. He's not the best route runner in this class, but he runs routes pretty well. He's got great hands. I mean, exceptional hands. Really, really good player. Love CeeDee Lamb. Certainly a top 10 guy in the class for me. He is probably the best receiver in the draft after the catch. I mean, this guy just refuses to go down. He's a rack machine. CeeDee Lamb, monster. Number 9 is Derrick Brown. As you can see, IDL number 2 in this class by Javon Kinlaw being above him. It just depends what you value more. Derrick Brown is a hold-up type player that will take blocks. He will eat up blocks. Could get you some penetration by pushing the offensive line back into the pocket. But he's not really someone that's going to penetrate at a high level. He's not really an interior disruptor so much as he is someone that gives great opportunities for his teammates. He's a really, really good player. It's just what do you value more? And I value a guy like Javon Kinlaw who makes it, it happen by himself. Someone that can play nose tackle, even though that's not his best role. He's a 2-tech in my opinion. Someone 2-3, move around a little bit. I think he can even play, the 1 or the 0 in a lot of different situations. But he's a 2-tech, probably 2-3, and just disrupts at an extremely high level. Splits double teams, kind of does it all. Javon Kinlaw is the best pass rushing defensive tackle in this class. He is my DT1. Number 7 is Tua Tagovailoa. I still think he's pretty high in this class for me. Dropped a little bit due to injury concerns. I know he was cleared 100%, but he's someone that clearly his body doesn't respond to punishment well. He gets injured frequently, and that is a big problem for a franchise QB. He's someone that has a pretty good arm, great accuracy, doesn't have a great deep ball, but does everything else pretty well. Surveys the field well, good pocket mobility. Just injury is a huge concern with him. We can't ignore that, but he's still going to come in at number 7. Number 6 is Jeffery Okuda out of Ohio State. Good press man. He's one, the best in the class at that. Decent in zone coverage. Ball skills are not elite, but this is the best press man-to-man corner in the class for sure. Okuda, beast in that regard. Number 5 is Jerry Jeudy. People want to say overvalue route running. Here it is. Best route runner in this class. The only thing he struggles with is physicality against press man, but does everything with his feet. So good at creating separation with his really, really quick first step. He's an amazing route runner. He's impossible to track at the top of his route a lot of the time. He's got good speed. He's got good hands. Again, some concentration drops at times, but Jerry Jeudy, to me, is everything you look for in a modern day receiver. Just, is he going to be in the slot more than he is on the outside? It's going to be interesting to see what team he goes to, but slot receivers are becoming the new way of the NFL, and Jerry Jeudy could be really, really effective in that role. Number 4 is Jedrek Willis. Best offensive tackle in this class, plain and simple. Most explosive hands. His punch power is elite. Doesn't get beat as a pass blocker. Really, really sound in that role. Great run blocker as well. Jedrek Willis does everything at an extremely high level. He's a top 5 player in the class for me. Number 3 is Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson. Love Isaiah Simmons. I think he has the potential to be one of the best weak side linebackers in the NFL. Just struggles to get off blocks of bigger players a lot of the time. I think offensive linemen are going to give him some trouble. I don't think he profiles necessarily as an inside linebacker at the next level. You'd probably like to play him at weak side linebacker because of his ability to just track the football in space. He's so fast in space. Closing speed is elite. And playing him at will, you're getting more matchups against tight ends, against, big receivers maybe. It kind of depends. But Isaiah Simmons is an incredible player, probably best suited as a strong safety in the NFL. I think he can play nickel cornerback. I think he can play that money backer role. Isaiah Simmons is a stud. Amazing in space, can even play over the top. I mean, this is an amazing defensive player. Number 2 is Joe Burrow. Record-setting season for LSU this past year, but he did have the best receivers in college football outside of Alabama, who had an unbelievable receiving core. But when you look at what LSU was lining up, Terrace Marshall being the worst of the big 3, Justin Jefferson at number 2, and then Jamar Chase. He had 2 or 3 first-round receivers that he was throwing to, and he was throwing a lot of 50-50 balls. And LSU receivers were winning them at a higher percentage than 50-50. So Joe Burrow is someone that likes to take chances and trust his receivers, and his receivers came up big for him at LSU. I think he could be someone that struggles with turning over the football if he continues up those habits in the NFL, but Bottom line with Joe Burrow is he is an extremely smart player, reads defenses extremely well. His pocket mobility is the best in the class. He senses pressure at an elite level. He's got great accuracy, good arm talent. Joe Burrow is a really, really good player. Number 2 in the class for me, which leaves number 1 as Chase Young, the best overall player in this class. He is a generational type talent on the edge. I think he's the best edge rush talent for sure over the past 5 or 6 years at least, if not more. He reminds me a lot of Myles Garrett. I think he can be an even better player, but certainly on that same range. Chase Young is unbelievable. Best run defender in the class of any edge rusher, and he's certainly the best pass rusher. This guy is unstoppable. You saw him get triple teamed consistently at Ohio State. Double teamed consistently, not triple teamed consistently, but double teamed consistently, and he still won against double teams. If a team is triple teaming one player, that creates so many one-on-ones and opportunities for other players to come free. Chase Young is unstoppable, someone that's going to be really, really amazing in any one-on-one type situation. His athleticism is off the charts. His technical ability is off the charts. Chase Young, best pure player in the class for me, plain and simple. But that is my big board top 100, ranking the top 100 players in the 2020 NFL Draft. That's going to do it for me. Got a mock draft with trades coming probably tomorrow, but I will see y'all in the next one. Take it easy.